Justin paused and frowned. He had just walked over and picked up Cherry, intending to carry her into the bedroom. But as she sleepily placed her arms around his neck, she mumbled a sentence that changed everything. "Mummy, I found my twin brother, who looks just like me." Has the ultimate secret finally been exposed? Hello guys, welcome to Tiny Scroll. Be sure to like this video and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you're just joining us or need to catch up on the Twin Switch madness, make sure to click the link in the description below or the banner right above to watch the entire playlist from episode 1. Now let's dive straight into the drama. Saving Nora, episode 19. Pete blushed. No, it's fine, mommy. Nora chuckled softly and said, "Cherry's a big girl now?" Pete ran out of the bathroom in a hurry after she put him down. He stood outside the door and listened to the movements inside. The running water, his mom in the bath, and then the sounds of her walking around in her slippers. After confirming she had put her nightclothes on, he opened the door and saw her lying on the bed. With her eyes closed, she said, "Mommy has a very important operation in 2 days, Cherry. I need a crazy amount of sleep, so I'm going to bed now, okay?" "Okay, mommy." His sister had told him that mommy had poor health, and her hobby was sleeping. He knew she needed to sleep a lot, and that he mustn't disturb her if she had to prepare for an important operation. 2 minutes later, he heard steady breathing coming from the bed, and he tiptoed over to his mother. He climbed onto the bed, found a spot in Nora's arms, and curled up close to her. Before he knew it, he'd fallen into a deep sleep listening to her heartbeat. "This is wonderful," he thought sleepily as he drifted off. "I have a mom at last." He didn't see the SOS messages from Cherry. On his phone in his pocket, "Help, Pete. Swap back again, Pete. I'm not daddy anymore." Cherry said to Pete, another message when Justin wasn't looking. Still a little greasy, he didn't reply. She gave up. She had no choice but to start tackling her assignment, petting him, and stared at the math textbooks. Her face wrinkled as she tried to make sense of it. As she'd lived her whole life, probably while her husband was still young, she too was still learning to read. She couldn't answer questions in the book at all. Justin sat next to her. He returned. It had been 6 months since he'd last tutored his son. He didn't know what he got up to. He pointed at the simplest question on the page and asked, "Do you know how to self-fix?" Cherry's big eyes were completely blank. Justin fell silent for a moment. He flipped back through the book to where they'd been up to 6 months ago. "What about this one?" Cherry shook her head firmly, but Justin's eyes widened. Why Pete couldn't solve these equations now, when he'd had no problems before. He was meant to be a clever teacher. The tutors surely couldn't have done that much damage, could they? He had no idea how to solve the equation. Cherry suggested, "Why don't we learn about history instead, Daddy? I'm really good at that. I know loads of facts." "Right." Justin picked up the history textbook instead and flipped it open. Who was the first president of the United States? Cherry's eyes lit up. She raised her hand and said, "I know this." Justin breathed a sigh of relief. His son might have fallen behind in math, but it would be okay if he was doing well in his history classes. But then he heard her yell, "Tom Cruise." "It's George Washington." Cherry blinked. "Oh, right. I must have remembered it wrong." "Next question, please, Daddy. Which American politician was assassinated in 1963? Leonardo DiCaprio." Cherry immediately answered. Justin took a deep breath and told himself not to get mad. His son had just started talking a little more. He mustn't lose his temper. He decided to try again. "Who invented the light bulb?" Full of confidence, Cherry answered. Keanu Reeves." Justin looked at his son, who was usually so solemn. He was so much more lively and animated today, but he couldn't help yelling sternly, "Peter Hunt." Cherry looked up, her expression eagerly, seeking praise. "Aren't I great, Daddy? There's still a lot more I know." Justin reined his temper in. The tutors were the ones who taught the child all the wrong things. So what was Pete going to do? He'd just be rewarding those awful women more. He said glumly, "Let's continue tomorrow." "Okay, Daddy." Cherry heaved a huge sigh of relief. She'd seen Lawrence poking his head into the room every now and then and figured he probably had something to talk to her father about. She carefully climbed down and said, "I'm going to go off to play now, Daddy." Justin rubbed his temples as he watched her run off. Lawrence entered the room looking concerned. Pete seems to be doing worse than the tutor said. If this goes on, he'll probably fall to last place in the assessments, right? Do you want me to contact some other tutors? There's still time before the end of the year. The Hunts held assessments for the family of children at the end of every year. Pete had always been top. That was how they'd found out he had a high IQ. And now his grades had deteriorated so badly in just 6 months. Fury flared in Justin's eyes. Despite Pete's high IQ and good memory, he seemed to have forgotten so much. He had stopped learning, and his grades would suffer as a result. Justin closed his eyes and pondered for a long time before he finally sighed and said, "Forget it. Let's not force him to do it anymore." This was the reason he always fell out with his son. He'd placed too much emphasis on education. He realized now that Pete's mental health was more important than anything else. Even if he really had forgotten everything that he'd learned and came last place in exams every time, they'd just live from day to day from now on. He would pave the way for Pete's future. Justin, who was usually so bold, hesitated for a moment. Then he asked Lawrence, "Have you found Pete different today?" The abuse from the tutors must have been going on for a long time, but his son had never once mentioned anything. Yet today, not only had he spoken up, but he also seemed to have become a lot more cheerful. What was going on? For some reason, Justin suddenly thought of what the woman had said downstairs. How did she know that his tutors were causing problems? Had Pete been talking to her about it somehow? Lawrence was thinking the same thing. Could Pete have confided in Miss Smith? There's something about her. Pete trusts her. So many women have tried to use him to get near to you, but none of them have succeeded. Lawrence couldn't keep track of how many of Justin's tutors he'd had to handle in the past. There'd been so many. He thought for a while and asked, "Do you want to give her a chance to get to know you?" She does seem to have a positive influence on Pete. Justin paused for a moment before asking, "What's she doing now?" A hesitant look appeared on Lawrence's face. When the cleaners went to her room just now, they heard from the nanny that she's asleep. She forbade them from disturbing her. Her aunt's life is still in limbo. How can she bring herself to sleep? Justin's expression darkened. A person who can do that is too selfish to be around my son. Make sure she doesn't contact Pete anymore. Yes, sir. Lawrence was about to say more, but Justin noticed that the child had fallen asleep on the sofa. He gestured to Lawrence to keep quiet. He walked over and picked up Cherry, intending to carry her into the bedroom. Cherry sleepily placed her arms around his neck and said, "Mummy, I found my twin brother, who looks just like me." Justin paused and frowned. Oh my goodness, the cat is officially out of the bag. Or is it? What do you think Justin's reaction will be to Cherry's sleep-talking? Will he realize he has long-lost twins, or will he brush it off as a crazy dream? And how do you feel about Justin banning Nora from seeing Pete just because she's sleeping? Drop your wildest theories and angry comments down below. I want to know what you think. Thank you so much for watching Tiny Scroll today. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you right here for the massive fallout in episode 20.